10 words every screenwriter should know and utilize in their script, feature-length script.
10 words they should know and utilize in the script?
In their script, right. Moving from, let's say, great or something simple to something more like arduous, stodgy, Byzantine. Like, are there certain words? I mean, this is just like this sort of strange throwaway question, but sometimes it's important because it gets people out of the dull
things
writing.
that they should put, words they should put into their screenplay.
Yeah, something, favorite flavorful words.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm going to be able to do. I'm always terrible at at top 10 lists. I will say I come from a background where I try not to use versions of to be, and these kind of like gerund words, like if she is walking, she walks to the door. You're like, what's the difference? But you're kind of looking for the more visceral words. So and you are looking for the verbs that that kind of let you not have to use adverbs. So, you're constantly trying to stay away from those kind of ly adverbs. So, you don't say you could say she starts walking to the door confidently, or you could say she struts to the door. So you're looking for those robust, kind of muscular words. Do I have a list of those words? I don't know that I do, but I know that I'm always searching for them. Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah,
Maybe coming from journalism,
and that's
probably...
it's an interesting question that I strangely can't answer because there's so many beautiful words that one could use, and when I think, and I can't even think about one from even our script that I was just like, that was the most marvelous word ever. I think that a lot of what Barrington has said, just finding ways to utilize the language that is bright and full and even complex are great things to do. But again, one particular word or a series of words, because they are always dependent on what you're writing about. Because I love the word lithe, but I would never see that in our script.
I don't think that's in our script.
That would never be in our script because that doesn't describe anyone in our script. But it's a word that I particularly love because it says so much, and it's such a little word, or a petite word. So yeah, I don't.
Yeah,
that's a hard one. I usually can answer anything, but that one, that's a stumper.
I think about verbs a lot, and maybe because of the medium, I think I try to think about light. I mean, it's a two-dimensional medium, and you can't really smell things, and the dialogue is there, so you can kind of, we do this thing where we cap the sounds. The car screeches around the corner to like kind of give you that sense. But I think also understanding that there's, glistens is, and glows, and like the light is kind of watery, or trying to get to transmit the texture of things, the sheen of things, is interesting. Probably not always applicable depending on your subject matter, but yeah.
I use my thesaurus a lot, so it's my favorite book.